Okay, so can everybody hear me on this live stream here? I'm just getting situated and I just wanted to, oh, thanks, Anna. I appreciate that. She says, I love your channel. Great. Miko says, I needed this. Okay, great. Yeah, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me what I'm saying here? Yeah, you can hear me? Okay, great. Carlos is with us. Okay, good. Well, so today what I was thinking what we could do is just go over some important formulas that you want to know for Tana's here. Welcome, Tana. Kaori, yep. Okay, good. You can hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, so what I thought we could do is maybe just talk about the ACT a little bit. Okay. Anna's saying you make math fun again because I hated math so much. Oh, good. I'm glad that my videos are helping you, Anna. That's great. So what I thought we could do is maybe just go through some formulas, and then what I want to do is just open it up for questions so that, things that you want to talk about, we can talk about together and just kind of help everybody out here. I do want to let everybody know that I do have that ACT Math Review video course that's available for sale through the About page on my YouTube channel, and I've got a link for that in the description. So if you're interested, it goes through 65 concepts, and we discuss some different types of problems that you will encounter when you take the ACT Math section. So check that out. There's some free previews there, so you can see if it's something you're interested in. But let's jump into this video here now. And so the first thing I wanted to do is just kind of go through some of the basic formulas. So does everybody know your distance formula? Okay, so definitely something you want to know. It's x2 minus x1, the quantity squared, right? Plus y2 minus y1, the quantity squared. You add those two together and you take the square root, and that's your distance. So definitely memorize this one if you don't have it already. Another important formula you want to know is your midpoint formula, right? So midpoint, we've got x1 plus x2 divided by 2, right? And you add the y coordinates together and you divide it by 2, okay? So as I'm going through these, think of some questions and things that you want to talk about or ask me, but I'm just going to write down a few formulas that I think that everyone's going to want to know. Also, you want to know your average formula, right? So when you go to find an average, what is an average? Well, it's the total, you know. Okay, Tana says, couldn't you also do Pythagorean theorem? Yeah, absolutely, Tana, you're absolutely right. You can, instead of using the distance formula, you can use the Pythagorean theorem, and I'll show you how that works as we just kind of write down a few more of these formulas. But so the average is an important formula, and so what you do is you take the total divided by however many you have. So like if you're trying to find your average in your math class, you'd add up all the points from your test, divide by the number of tests that you took, and that's going to be your average, right? Okay, so we've got our distance, we've got our midpoint, we've got our average. What about our slope formula? Definitely want to know the slope formula. That's going to be your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or you can think of it as your rise over your run, right? So that's another important formula. Another important formula that sometimes students forget, but this is an easy one to get right when you take the ACT, and that's your circle formula. Okay, so let me see if I can just write that one down for us. It's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squares. Okay, so Kalaki says, I have issues with this question. Can you help me, please? Which one? Is it the circle question? Anna says I have to take pre-calc and calc also physics 1 and 2. Can you do one-on-one with students? Yeah, I can do one-on-one with students for pre-calc. I tutor students like in my local area, like basically algebra, algebra 2, geometry, pre-calculus, ACT, SAT math, trigonometry. So all those areas I mainly focus on. So yeah, if you need help, if anyone's interested in one-on-one tutoring online, or via FaceTime, we can certainly set something up. Just contact me through my about page or through my website mariosmathtutoring.com. But here we're just writing down some formulas that we all want to know for the ACT coming up right on Saturday, right? So let's see. So we've got the distance, midpoint, average, slope, circle equation. There's been another formula that's been popping up a little bit, and that's the expected value. Does everybody know what expected value is? It's basically what you do. Anna's saying, I live in New Jersey. I need those courses to get into the PT program. Okay, physical therapy program. Okay, good. Yeah, so definitely want to make sure you get good scores there. But yeah, so expected value, what you do is, you take the probability, okay, that an event occurs, and then you multiply by the value of that event. And then what you do is you sum those up, and that's your expected value. So you might see something like that on the test. It's called expected value. Okay, Tana says, okay, yes. Let's see, Batun has Hi from Turkey, and I want to prepare for the ACT, but my English is not enough. I think you can help me, guys. Maybe create ACT class, a WhatsApp group. Okay, so I'm not so familiar with WhatsApp group, but definitely something maybe you guys want to check out. So yeah, so we're just kind of going through some other formulas here. Any other formulas that you guys can think of that you think would be important to mention here in this little formula sheet? I'm just thinking through this. We've got distance, midpoint, average, slope, circle equation, expected value. Any other ones that you think that maybe I'm missing? Of course, there's all kinds of formulas. There's, of course you want to know your equation of a line, right? So you want to know your y equals mx plus b. That's not so much a formula though, I think, as far as, you also want to know your point slope formula. That's helpful as well when you're writing equations of lines. But any other formulas that you think that are important besides these ones? Of course, you want to know all your sine, cosine, and tangent ratios with right triangles. You want to know your 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90 triangles. Those are important, oftentimes referred to as, Tana's saying Pythagorean theorem. Yeah, definitely want to know your Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Also good to know, let's see, Kaori is saying when and where to use the r squared formula. Oh, that's the circle equation. We can talk about that in a minute. Oh, Tina's saying quadratic formula. That's also a good one. Let's add that to the list here. So quadratic formula, I'm just writing these down. Maybe you guys can write these down as I'm writing these too, so you can have them for your notes. But quadratic formula you use when you have an equation that's in this form, equal to 0. And what you do is you do the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, Tana's saying if they give you the radius of the circle, you have to square it. Yeah, that's exactly right. So here, let's talk about the circle for a minute, because everybody seems to be interested in the circle equation, because that's an easy one to get right and get an extra point on your test, right? So here, let's do an example. So let's say, for example, you have, say the center of your circle is at -2, 1, and say the radius equals 4. So the equation of this circle would be what? It's going to be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 16. Okay, so now here's where students kind of go off a little bit. See how this is like plus 2 right here? It's the opposite, right? So if it's minus 2, you actually want to add 2 and then square that quantity. And then same thing over here. Oh, okay, Frank's saying interest equations. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, let's write that one down too. Here, I'll write that one down after I explain about the circle. So then, yeah, y minus 1, the quantity squared. So notice again, see how this is a -1, but the y coordinate is +1. So these are going to be the opposite signs. And then, of course, over here you have the radius squared. So I'll just do one more circle example, and then we'll talk about that interest equation. Say they give you the equation of a circle, and say it's like this. X minus 7 squared plus y squared equals 49. So can anybody tell me what the center of this circle is and what the radius is? So what do you think? What's the center and what's the radius of this circle? This is the kind of thing that you could likely see on the test. And again, it's an easy problem to get right. So you just, where's the center and what's the radius? Anybody want to chime in? Okay, radius is, let's see, 7, Miko says. Okay, yeah, is Miko right? Yeah, Batun is saying from Turkey, he's saying 7. Okay, is he right? Yeah, you guys are right. Guys and gals, you guys are right. So, and then what about the center? Where's the center of this circle? Well, that's a good question. Well, remember, it's the opposite, right? So if this is x minus 7, this is going to be positive 7. This is y minus 0 or plus 0. Okay, Batun is saying 7, 0. Yeah, you're exactly right. So 7, 0 with a radius of 7. So again, circles definitely something you want to review if you don't know this formula already. Of course, everything that I'm talking about in this live stream, I have videos covering all of these different topics. So if you just go to my channel, go to the little magnifying glass, the search symbol, and go ahead and type these concepts in there on my channel. I've got videos on all of this. Okay, Ryan's laughing out loud. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about that other equation, the interest equation. So remember, this is also an important formula when you talk about compound interest. A equals P 1 plus R over N to the NT, right? So remember, the P is the principal. That's what you put in, right? That's what you start with, okay? And then R is the interest rate, okay? So if it's 5%, you want to convert that to a decimal, 0.05. N is the number of times that you compound in a year. So if it's like quarterly, N would be 4. If it's weekly, N would be 52. If it's, annually, then that's just once a year, n would be 1, and then of course t time is the number of years. But you know, another equation that's kind of related to this, okay, when you talk about exponential equations are in this form, ab to the x power, right? Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll say, you know, write a model or write an equation, you know, that such that it's like an exponential growth or exponential decay, and they'll just say that they'll give you the rate. So for example, okay, let's see, Kalaki is saying consider the functions f of x equals square root of x and g of x equals 7x. Oops, let me see if I can, I lost that one there. Let me see here. Oops. Let's see, I lost that. Okay, there it is, yeah. And in the standard xy coordinate plane, f of g of x passes through 4, 6. What is the value of b? Is it a, 8? Is it c, negative 25, d, negative 20? Yeah, we can talk about that question in just a second. Let's see if we can go through this one first. Okay, so basically what we have here is, the equation I was going to show you is a equals p, 1 plus or minus r to the t, right? So p is what you start with. Like say you have like a car and it's $30,000, right? And it's going down in value by 20% per year. You would use 1 minus 0.20, and then t would be the number of years. So if it's 3 years, you know, you'd put 3 in for the time and you could solve. Of course, if it's going up in value, then you'd be adding whatever the rate of growth is. So again, in this live stream, we're just going through some important formulas you want to know, and we're going to open it up for questions. If you guys are enjoying this, if you can give me a thumbs up on the video, I'd appreciate that. If you like it, if you don't like it, give me a thumbs down, right? But I hope you're liking it. And then, you know, the more you participate, I think the more that you'll get out of it, and the more everybody will benefit as well. So yeah, definitely feel free to jump in. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, I think I mentioned at the very beginning, is that if you're interested in learning more about all this ACT math, you can check out my ACT Math Huge Review video course. It's available through my About page on my YouTube channel. That's for sale. It goes through 65 different concepts, a lot of example problems, a lot of opportunities to boost your score on the test through the experience you gain in that course. A lot of students have taken it. A lot of my subscribers have taken it, and they've said that it's really helped their score. So check that out, and there's some free previews on there that you can check out as well. And I have a link in the description of this live stream, so if you want, go ahead and take a look at that as well. But let me see if I can go back to that question that Kalaki, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So let's see, he said consider the functions f of x equals square root of x. Okay, let me see if I can write this down here. The live chat disappears kind of quick on me here. So let's see, f of x equals square root of x. And then he says that g of x equals 7x. Okay. Let's see, so then they're asking what's f of g of x, and it passes through the point 4 comma 6. Let me see if I can write this down here. What's the value of b? Oh, okay, this is, let me see here, I'm not sure if I got this quite right. Is this g of x equals 7x? Is this 7x minus b, Kalaki? Is it 7x minus b over here, or is it 7x equals b? I think you have equals on there. Well, you know, let me just answer this question just in a general way. Like, see, here's the thing, like when you do a composition of functions, this is also something important to know for the test, so definitely a good question. But what you do when you do these composition of functions is you're putting one function into the other function. So if it's the way that I've written it so far, I think I don't quite understand the question exactly how it's written in the comment there, but basically, Tana's saying, should you try to plug g of x into the f of x function? Oh, okay, and then Klaki's saying that this is 7x plus b. Okay, so yeah, so that's exactly right. What you would do is you would put 7x plus b, okay, in for g of x, right? Then this 7x plus b is going into x in the f of x function. So this is then going to be square root of 7x plus b, okay? And let's see, so and then that was equal to, let's see, it was equal to 6, which is the y value, that's the output. And then 4, that's the x value, that's the input. So if we simplify this down, it looks like this is going to be 28 plus b equals 6. Unfortunately, my b kind of looks like a 6, but if you square both sides, you get 36, and that's 28 plus b. And then, of course, if you subtract 28 from both sides, b is equal to 8. So that should be the correct answer there. I hope that answers your question, Kalaki. So that's a good question, though. You know, composition of functions, definitely something you want to be familiar with on the ACT. And again, remember the key to these functions. It's like this. say your function is just, oh, you're welcome. Clocky says thanks. Okay, good. See, just remember the key to these functions is whatever's in here goes in place for x on the right. That's the key. So like even if they said f of cat, okay, just to be funny, okay, they would put cat in place of x minus 1, okay? So whatever's in the parentheses, that goes in for x on the right side of the equation, and you simplify. So what do you think? Is everyone enjoying this live stream? I know everyone's getting ready to take the test on Saturday. It's going to be a big day. I know it's the end of the school year for a lot of students, but what other questions do you want to ask me? If you're enjoying this live stream, give it a thumbs up. And if you have questions, go ahead and feel free to jump in and ask them here. And I'm just encouraging everyone to check out my ACT Math Review video course. It's called the Huge ACT Math Review video course. A lot of students have taken it. A lot of students have benefited. They've boosted their score and said that it was a really good way of reviewing a lot of important concepts and even learning some things that they hadn't learned maybe in their math class or had forgotten. So definitely go and check that out. I've got a link in the description to this live stream, and I also have it on my About page. There's a link there on my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. Or you can go to my website, mariosmathtutoring.com. And then I also just wanted to mention, if you're interested in online tutoring or if you want to do like some FaceTiming with me, okay, Tana's asking about inequalities and complicated inequalities. Yeah, we can talk about that, Tana. But yeah, if you're interested in one-on-one, just online tutoring with me, if you want to prepare, if you've got some questions and some things you want to go over, some problems you want to do together. This is a little bit limited because it's more like you can chat and stuff like that, but when we do it online, we see each other. We both can access like a whiteboard, a shared whiteboard, so we can see what each other is writing. It's a little bit more interactive. Or we can do a live stream if you're like an Apple user and you have an iPhone or an iPad. So Kay already saying thank you for sharing a part of your life with us. Oh, well, I'm glad you're enjoying this. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And there's a ton of videos on my website. If you just go to my website, not my website, but my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring, you'll see a lot of videos on ACT and SAT math. So, but yeah, I just want to try to see if we can do some more problems together here. So Tana was saying that she wanted to talk about inequalities and complicated inequalities. Well, here's a complicated inequality for you. Can you guys see this okay? Is it clear? Jesse's asking, please, what are questions to expect? Yeah, so we're kind of talking about some of the formulas right now, Jesse. You can maybe go back to the beginning of the live stream. We talked about some of the formulas, but Tana was just asking about some more complicated inequalities. And here's kind of a complicated inequality. This is an absolute value inequality. And sometimes students get a little bit confused of when this is less than versus when this is greater than. So let me see if I can show you two of these problems. So basically what you would do here when it's less than, it means this quantity here is less than 4. Of course, you're taking the absolute value, which means that this whole quantity is actually always going to be made positive, right, once you take the absolute value. So what you do with these problems like so is you say 3x minus 2. Okay, Tina says, look up practice ACT problems and those will give you a general gist, Jesse. Okay, yeah, you know what, if you want another resource, you can go to the get the ACT, like the real ACT guide. There's 5 practice tests in there. And you can also go to the 2016-2017 official ACT guide. They've got some formally released tests there. That's the best way to get some really good practice with the actual problems, aside from that video course that I have for sale where I talk about a lot of the problems that they expect you to know. But here we're just doing a compound inequality that Tana was asking about. And so you can see, okay, Kalak is asking another question. An integer from 100 through 999 inclusive is to be chosen at random. What is the probability that the number chosen will have 0 as at least the 1 digit? Okay, we can take a look at that one in a minute, but let's see if we can solve this one. So when you solve these compound inequalities, you want to get the variable by itself in the middle here. So you want to add 2 to the left, the middle, and the right. Okay, so when you do that, you get negative 2 is less than 3x is less than 6. Then you just want to divide everything by 3, right? Because you want to get that x value by itself. And so you can see that x has to be in between negative 2/3 and 2. So if you're graphing this on the number line, right, so you'd have negative 2/3 would be here, 2 would be here, and x would be in between those two values. So does that make sense, Tana? That's one type of inequality. And the thing is, what makes the inequalities, a little bit more challenging, and sometimes what they do on the ACT is this kind of a scenario right here where, they're going to give you something like negative 4x plus 8 is greater than 16, for example, right? So of course it's just like solving an equation. You want to get that variable by itself. But what happens when you divide or multiply by a negative number? Well, I'm sure most of you know, but when you divide or multiply by a negative number, that inequality sign actually flips. Okay, so it becomes x is less than -2. So that's the key. Sometimes they do try to trick you with that. Just making sure that you remember that from your math class. Divide or multiply by a negative, the sign flips. But let's see, Kalaki was asking a question, and so I encourage you guys, guys and gals, if you have a question, go ahead and write them in the comment, and we can talk about those different types of problems. But let me see if I can understand what Kalaki was saying in this problem here. I'll see if I can bring that back up. So he's saying an integer from 100 through 999 inclusive, so meaning including 100 and including 999, right? Okay, is to be chosen at random. Okay, so this is like a probability question. So probability is definitely something important you want to know for the ACT. A little bit more basic type of a problem, They don't really make it too tricky, the probability ones, but just understanding. That's another formula, by the way, that everybody wants to make sure that they know. What exactly is probability? Well, remember, probability, it's the number of successes, right? Number of successes divided by what? The total possible outcomes, right? So I'm just abbreviating a little bit here, but yeah, definitely probability is an important one to know. Like a simple example, you have a hat, you've got 2 red marbles, you've got 3 blue marbles. What's the probability you pick a red marble, right? It's a pretty basic question, but in this case, there's 2 chances of success out of 5 total, so your probability is going to be 2/5. Pretty basic, but let's go back to Kalaki's question. I want to make sure we kind of see if we can address that. So an integer from 100 through 999 inclusive to be chosen at random. What is the probability that the number chosen will have 0 as at least 1 digit? So what's the probability the number chosen will have at least 0 as at least 1 digit? Okay, so this is an interesting question. You know why it's an interesting question? Because you have to go about it in kind of a roundabout way. So we're really talking about a 3-digit number here, right? And so Clocky's wondering, at least one of these digits has to be 0. So 1 could be 0, 2 could be 0, all 3 could be 0. But why don't we figure out how many of these 3-digit numbers don't have any zeros, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the probability that none have zeros, right? Okay, so how many choices are there for this first digit? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And then how many choices are for the second digit? Well, normally there's going to be 0 through 9, which is 10 digits, but we don't want it to be a 0, so this is going to be 9. And then over here, same thing, we want this one to be 0 through 9, but we don't want it to be 0, so there's just 9 choices. See, normally it would be 10, but we're subtracting 1 because we don't want it to be a 0. So what's 9 times 9 times 9? Well, it's 729, right? So basically, what you would do then is you'd say the probability of it, let's see, of not having any zeros would be 729 out of, well, let's see, how many numbers are there from 100 to 999? Well, there's 900, right? So that'd be 900. But Tana's jumping in, she's saying, should you subtract the none that have zeros by 1? Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're going to do 1, which represents 100%, minus what we don't want, okay, which is the probability that, it doesn't have any zeros, will leave, it will leave the probability that it has 1 0 or more. So if you do this, what do you get? 1 minus 729 over, did I say, oops, 1 over 900, right? So what is 1 minus 729 over 900? Well, it's 171 over 900. So that would be your probability right there. Okay, so did that answer your question, Kalaki? I don't know if I got that. So basically, that's the key. You go about it in a roundabout way. You look at what you don't want, and then you do 1 minus what you don't want, and that leaves the leftover, which is what you did want there. So that's using the complement, what they call a complement. So let's see, SK10RBOI says, question 22 from the May 2005 3H, simplify fully. 2 divided by x minus 1 plus x minus 11 divided by x squared plus 3x minus 4. It might just be the amount of numbers in that making it look hard. Okay, so that's a good question. Let me see if I can write this down really quick. And everybody that's here listening, if you're enjoying this live stream, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not liking it, give it a thumbs down. Either way, just be honest. And if you have questions, feel free to jump in here and ask your questions about these ACT questions so that you can benefit and everybody listening can benefit. And we're just kind of having some fun here before the SAT, which is coming up this Saturday, right? Did I say SAT? ACT, sorry. ACT. The SAT was last Saturday. Okay, so we've got 2 over x minus 1 plus x minus 11 over x squared plus 3x minus 4. So SK10RBOI, did I get the question correct? How did I do on that one? So basically the key to this problem, okay, and this is something you really want to know for the ACT, and that's that you really want to know your factoring, okay? So a lot of students are not so great at factoring, and that makes it a little bit difficult. And I do have on my math channel, Mario's Math Tutoring, I do have a nice video, I think it's about 20 minutes long, going through all the different types of factoring, whether it's factoring by grouping or whether it's difference of two squares or factoring trinomials, and Ryan Anderson saying, oh yes, factoring please. So factoring is like a big topic, and so you definitely want to know like difference of two cubes and sum of two cubes, and but some of the main ones are just like the one I just did right here. So x plus 4 times x minus 1. So if you want to add these together, this one has an x minus 1, but it's missing what? An x plus 4, right? Okay, so that means that we have to multiply the numerator and denominator by x plus 4, right? And then S. Shin is saying, is completing the square on the ACT? Well, that's a good question. It's okay. It's not necessarily completing the square, but solving quadratic equations is. So you could do that by factoring. You could do it by quadratic formula. You could do it by graphing. So there's a lot of different ways to solve quadratic equations. And completing the square is just one of those techniques. So not absolutely necessary. But sometimes it can be helpful, as maybe a quicker way to solve a quadratic. So basically, this is what we're doing is we're just combining these two fractions. We had to get a common denominator, so that's going to give us 2x plus 8 plus x minus 11 all over that common denominator, x plus 4, x minus 1. And then let's see, so 2x plus 1x is 3x, and 8 minus 11 is minus 3. Oh, I see where this is going with this problem. See, what's happening here is you want to factor this further by factoring out the greatest common factor. See how I factored out a 3? And then what do you notice here? Does anybody see what's happening? What's going on here? You see what's happening, SK10RBOI? Well, notice what's the numerator and the denominator. Up, he says, wait. So what's happening here? Anything you notice with the numerator and denominator? Well, the x minus 1s, those are going to cancel. See, numerator and denominator, and you're just left with 3 over x plus 4. Whoops, 3 over x plus 4. So that's your final answer on that one. So yeah, you can cancel them out, yeah, because they're multiplied together. See, if they're multiplied like this is like division, and multiplication and division are inverses, so they cancel. So yeah, good question. So if anyone's just joining us right now, this is Mario, of course, with Mario's Math Tutoring, and we're just going through some formulas that you want to know for the ACT math, and I'm also promoting my huge ACT math review video course, which goes through 65 different concept areas that are covered on the ACT, and there's like 3.5 hours of video, and we go through examples together, and we talk about different problems that you would likely see, and so definitely check that out. If you go into the description of this live stream, or if you go to the About page of my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel, or if you go to my website, mariosmathtutoring.com, you can check this out and see some of the free previews and see if it's a good fit for you. So that's for sale through any of those different avenues, but it's called a huge ACT Math Review video course. Okay, so let's see, we had some other questions come in as I was rambling on about my video course, right? But let's see, S. Shin was talking about arithmetic sequences. Okay, Tana's saying she's got to go. Thanks. Okay, all right, see you, Tana. We'll see you another time. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about arithmetic sequences. So when you talk about arithmetic sequences, you're basically talking about something like this: 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, ... right? And an example might be, what's the, let's just say the 20th term in this sequence. Well, one way to do it is just to keep following this pattern until you get to the 20th term, but that might take a little bit of time, especially if they wanted the 100th term. But I'll give everyone a chance. What do you think? What would you do to get to that 100th term, or in this case, let's just do the 20th term, so a sub 20. Any ideas? How would you get to that 20th term? So S. Shin is asking about arithmetic sequences. So what makes it an arithmetic sequence is that you're adding or subtracting the same thing each time to get to the next term. So can anybody tell me what we're adding or subtracting to get to the next term in the sequence? What do you guys and gals think? What are we doing to get to the next term? Caesar says 2. Let's see, we're adding or subtracting. Oh, okay, says 4. Jesse says 4. Miko says 4. Frank says 4. Yeah, you guys are right. It's 4. So what we're going to do now, see, think about it this way. You're starting at 3, right? That's your first term. And you're adding 4 how many times? 19 times. How come 19? Well, you're already at the first term, so then you only have to add 4 one less times. So basically what this comes out to is what? This is 76 plus 3 is 79. Now if you want a formula, here's your formula. It's a sub n equals a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. A1 is your first term, d is what you're adding. That's called the common difference. That's what you're adding to get to the next term. And you're adding that common difference one less time than the term that you want to get to. Does that make sense? So that's your formula. This live stream is devoted to, the theme is, formulas for the ACT. We're talking about all different kinds of formulas that you want to know, things you may have forgotten or things that you want to go over and talk about. But so I hope that answered your question, Eshin. What do you think? Was that helpful? Is that kind of what you were looking for? The other problem that sometimes you come across is, like, say they wanted to ask you what are the sum of the first 20 terms. Well, if you want to find the sum of the first 20 terms, what you would do is you take the first term, okay, plus the last term, in this case it's 79, okay, times the number of terms, which is 20, divided by 2. So again, if you want a formula, your formula is going to look like this. It's n divided by 2, a sub 1 plus a sub n. Oops, I ran out of room there. But basically it's the number of terms divided by 2 times the sum of the first term plus the last term. And that gives you the sum in an arithmetic series. A series means that you're adding them all together. So yeah, we're at the half an hour mark, and I'd be happy to do some more practice problems with everyone. So just let me know, what kind of questions you might have or things you might want to talk about. Again, we're kind of talking about formulas and important concepts and formulas that you want to know for the ACT math section. And my name is Mario with Mario's Math Tutoring. I think you guys all know that. But if you're interested, check out my channel. I've got a lot of videos talking about ACT math, a lot of videos talking about SAT math, and then if there's specific concepts that you want to talk about more, I can do videos on those in the future. Let's see, Jesse says, please can you go for more of arithmetic sequences? Okay, and Carlos says, thank you so much. Okay, you're welcome, Carlos. So yeah, so arithmetic sequences, I could show you another example kind of like that. And like a story problem would be something like this. Like, I think if I remember from one of the old tests, it said something like, somebody gets a sales job and the first day they make like 25 calls, and then each day after they make like 10 additional calls, right? So that means that the next day would be like 35 calls, and then 45 calls, and 55 calls, and dot dot dot. So then they might say, well, how many sales calls is this person going to make on the 30th day, right? So we're looking for a sub 30, right, Jesse? So again, the pattern is, you say, well, the first term is 25, right? And so we're starting at 25 and we're adding 10 how many times? Well, to get to the 30th term, we're adding 10 29 times. So this is going to be 290 plus 25, which is 315. So on that, if he keeps up this pace, or she keeps up this pace, she's going to end up making 315 sales calls on that 30th day, the end of the month, right? So they keep ramping up each day. But again, where am I getting all this information from? I'm taking the first term. Okay, Walrus has got a good question here for us. Okay, we'll look at that one in just one second, but let me just finish this one and we'll talk about that. So a sub n equals a1 plus d, the common difference, times n minus 1. And so Jesse's saying, how did I get 29? Oh, that's a good question, Jesse. Well, see what it is, if you're using the formula, you take the first term plus the common difference, which is 10, because we kept adding 10 to get to the next term, right? But you only have to do that not 30 times, but just 29 times, because see, even look at this simple example right here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To get to the fifth term, if I'm already at 25, I'm just adding 10 once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. See, I'm only adding it 4 times, even though that this is the fifth term. So it's always going to be one less than the term that you want. So you start off at 25, and so that's the idea. So yeah, so basically that's the idea. So let's see now. Somebody else had a question. Is it bright enough? Can we see? I'm trying to get the light a little bit better here so it's clearer. Okay, so yeah, so let's look at that last question. Let's see. Shin was asking, S. Shin, at a local post office. Oh, there was one before that. Let's see. Walrus. The sum of two positive numbers is 151. The lesser number is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. What is the value of the greater number minus the lesser number? Okay, you know what Walrus is bringing up? Okay, Walrus is bringing up an important concept here, and that's that you definitely want to understand systems of equations. There's always systems of equations problems on the ACT and the SAT, and there's different ways to solve those. You can do substitution, you can do elimination, there's different, graphing method. Of course, if they give you the answers, you can always try back substitution is a good technique. A lot of different ways to solve it, but let's just see if I can write these equations down. So it says at a local, at the wrong one, let's see. Where is that one? There it is. Okay, the sum of two positive numbers. So let's call one number x, right? Let's call the other number y. The sum means you're adding together and you get 151, right? Okay, then it says the lesser number. Let's just make y the lesser number, right? Is 19 more, okay, than the square root of the greater number. So if you take the square root of the greater number, and let's see, the lesser number is 19 more. So let's see, that means the lesser number is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. What is the value of the greater number minus the lesser number? Okay, that's a good question. I like that question. That's really makes you think. So basically what we have here is we've got two equations, these two right here, right? And so how do we solve this? Well, what I would do for this problem is I would probably use the substitution method. And what I would do here is I would rearrange this equation to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So that means y equals 151 minus x. Then what I would do is I would take this quantity right here, right, and I would put it in place of y. That's the substitution, okay? So now we've got 151 minus x equals square root of x plus 19. Okay, now what do we want to do? Well, now what you want to do is you want to get this square root by itself. So I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides. Boy, you gave us a tough problem, Walrus. This is a tough one. I don't have my calculator with me. Let's see. So I think I might actually behind me somewhere, but let's see. So this is what does that come out to? That's 132. Is that right? Okay, minus x equals square root of x. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to square both sides. Square this side, right? But the problem is you're going to have to FOIL this out. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you how to do it. So you're going to FOIL this out. Then you want to get everything on one side, set it to 0, factor, and set the factors to 0. Once you do that, okay, then you can see which one's the positive answer because these are just positive numbers. You can put it back in here to find out what y is. Then you'll know what x and y are, and then you can subtract to find the difference. So I guess I'm going to leave it at this point here just because these numbers are going to get pretty large. I just don't have my calculator right with me at the moment. So other questions, other things you want to talk about? Let's see. Oh, okay, Walrus says I forgot to FOIL it. Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Okay, so, okay, let's see. So, all right, so let's see here. Let's see. All right, so basically, let's take a look. So right now, I just want to just take a moment here. If you're just joining the live stream and you have questions or you want to talk about some concepts or some problems that you're going to see on the ACT math section, feel free to jump in and ask those questions. But I just wanted to promote my huge ACT math review video course that I have for sale on my website at mariosmathtutoring.com or through the link in my About page on my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel. Or I have a link should be a link in the description of this live stream. So if you're interested, check that out. There's some free previews. If it's right for you, consider getting that. A lot of students have taken it and said it's really helped them boost the score, their score on the math section of the ACT. So I'd highly recommend that. And if you're interested in one-on-one tutoring, like online tutoring, we can certainly do that. And the soccer head's asking how many answers do you have to get right on the math section to pass. Well, it's not really like a pass or fail thing. It's more of like, certain colleges are looking for certain scores, and obviously the better that you do, it's you can get 36 total is the scale basically. So if you get a 36, that's considered a perfect score. But there's 60 questions, 60 minutes. It's multiple choice, so you can use some back substitution techniques to to check to see if you got the right answer. And yeah, so basically that's the idea there. So let's see here. Okay, so yeah, so if there's any other question, okay, my college is asking for 18 or higher. Okay, all right, so 18 or higher, definitely doable. So I mean, 18 is definitely doable. A lot of students try to get up into that 30 range, or some students have 27 or 28 as their goal. Some students have 35. It just depends on where you're going and what you're studying, and how much math you've taken up to this point. But so let's see. So other questions. Let me look back at the chat here. It kind of scrolls by kind of quick, and sometimes I miss some of them. So let's see. Some of these questions I might not necessarily answer because it might not, Let's see. Miko says if 5 times the number n is subtracted from 15, the result is negative. Which is the possible value for n? A only, 3 only, 10 only, or... Yeah, so let's see if we can write this one down, Miko. So basically it says 5 times the number n is subtracted from 15, okay? The result is negative. Now when it says that the result is negative, this is an important concept real quick, everyone that's listening. When it says a negative just means that it's less than 0. A lot of times you'll see less than 0, greater than 0. All that's saying is whether it's negative or positive. So a lot of times you'll see this little notation, and all they're really doing is giving you a hint that it's positive or negative. So yeah, so basically if you solve this, you get negative 5n is less than negative 15, and if you divide by negative 5, we talked about this a little bit earlier, what happens to the sign when you divide by negative? It flips, so n is greater than 3. So that's the idea on that one. So yeah, so other questions, other things you want to ask. I think what I'm going to do is try to open this up a little bit here. Just see if I can make it a little bit brighter in here. So this way I get a little bit more light, a little bit easier to see. Okay, just a second. Oops, disaster. Oops. I was pulling the blinds and it fell. Okay, well it is brighter now. Okay, so yeah, so other questions. Okay, so Soccer has said, can you go over the first 10 questions on the ACT math? Well, that's a good question. I don't have those right in front of me right now, so maybe if people have some specific questions, I can answer those. Or if you have just questions in general about the math, the ACT math section, we can talk about those. So anybody else want to jump in with a question? What do you think? So is everyone taking the test on Saturday? So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, consider subscribing to Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel. And there's a lot of videos on there. I've got I think got over about 400 videos right now, covering all different concepts in math, as well as ACT math, SAT math. So you can definitely check those out. Angie's saying that she takes the ACT this Saturday. Okay, and this is very helpful. Okay, good. Caesar's saying, why did you set that math problem less than 0? Oh, that was just one where they said it was negative. Caesar, they said that the difference of 15 and 5n was negative, so that's why it was less than 0. That's why I set it up that way. Yeah, good question. So what do you think? Everybody have some more questions about the ACT math? Okay, Caesar got that one. So again, I'm available for online tutoring. If anybody's interested in that, you can find out more on my website, mariosmathtutoring.com, or you can text me or email me about that if you have questions, if you're interested in some private math tutoring. It's a little bit more interactive than this is. This is a little bit limited because we're not really talking face to face like we would on like a Skype call or something like that. So definitely, if you're interested in the private, just one-on-one tutoring, you can contact me about that. But I really recommend my huge ACT math review video course that's available for sale. Check that out. Okay, Walrus has another question. A dog eats 7 cans of food in 3 days. At this rate, how many cans of food does a dog eat in 3 plus D days? Oh, Walrus, you've got good questions. You know, this is an important concept. It's talking about proportions, okay? And proportions is definitely something you want to understand for the ACT. So you've got 7 cans of food in 3 days. How many cans of food does a dog eat in 3 plus D days? See, when you set up a proportion, you know, it's a ratio equal to another ratio. So it's like a fraction equal to another fraction, right? So the key here is that I've got amount of food per day, amount of food per number of days, right? So I've got food in the numerator, days in the denominator, and I do the same thing on the right. So our goal really is to, you know, solve for x here. That's the unknown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. Remember, you cross multiply when you have a proportion like that. So I get 7 times 3 plus d, and the nice thing about that is it eliminates the fractions. So I'm just cross multiplying on the diagonal, right? Okay, SK10RBOI says, can you call me Jason? Okay, instead of my username. I also have another question to ask related to the ACT. It was in my previous prep. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely you can write these questions, and Jason, I'll try to remember that. I usually just say people's usernames because it's hard for me to remember some of this other information. But let me see if I can just go ahead now. And what we want to do is we're solving for x, right? So basically what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to bother distributing here. I'm just going to divide both sides by 3. So you can see that we're solving for x, so it's going to be, let's see, 21 plus 7d all divided by 3. So your answer is going to be some version of this right here, okay? So that's what we were solving for, so some version of this. So did that answer your question about that one, about Walrus? I think you were asking about this one. So yeah, so other questions, other things you guys and gals want to talk about for the ACT math section? Okay, Walrus says, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks again. Okay, you're welcome. So yeah, you guys are asking really great questions, all very important. I cover all these concepts and many, many more in that huge ACT Math Review video course. So I encourage you guys to get that. If anybody's listening and they've taken the course, feel free to chime in about that. I know sometimes I've done these live streams and some other students have told me just while we were live streaming that you know, about how it helped them and how many points it raised their score by. So I would definitely check that out. Let's see. So let's see. Angie's saying each day Laura bikes to school in the morning, bikes home in the afternoon. Okay, this sounds kind of like a distance equals rate times time problem, but I don't know. I'd have to know a little bit more about that one. So if you can let me know more about that, we can do that one. So other questions. Let's see. Soccerhead said, who watched the Champions League yesterday? Oh, okay, let's try to keep this math related. I think we're going to, you know, see how far this goes. I don't want to drag it out. I guess if people are getting bored, we can always wrap it up at any point. But if you still have interest and ask me some questions, we can do these. Let's see. Angie says if she bikes at a speed of 12 miles per hour and the school is 3 miles from her house, how long does it take her to bike to school and back? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, Miko's saying laugh out loud. You know, the thing about these, it sounds like, Angie, it sounds like this is a distance equals rate times time problem, okay? And this is another important formula, and that was kind of the theme of this live stream was, you know, what are some important formulas for the ACT math section? And this is another important formula, distance equals rate times time. So let me see. So she bikes at a speed of 12 miles per hour. That's her rate, okay? And the school is 3 miles away, so that's the distance. And then this is the time, right? So if we solve for time, let's see, so from 12 miles per hour and the distance is 3 miles. So basically it's going to take her, divide by both sides by 12, right? I'm trying to read the chat and solve this problem at the same time. So it takes her basically a quarter of an hour, but since she's going there and back, Angie, that's going to be double 1/4, so it's going to take her 1/2 hour total to go there and back. So did that answer your question, Angie? Angie AWX. So basically a distance equals rate times time question. All right, Jesse Jumbo has a question here about slopes. Okay, and definitely, you know, slope is an important concept to know for the ACT. And what's even also important, maybe even more important, is knowing the slope-intercept form, the y equals mx plus b form of a line. Okay, Angie says, yes, I understand now. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. So let's see. So Jesse's giving us this equation here, x plus 2y equals 5 minus x plus y. And so here's the thing, Jesse, what you want to do to solve this problem is you want to put it into this form right here, y equals mx plus b. So they're, on the ACT, they're kind of testing you on, do you understand those key concepts from your math class, or the things that they feel that you should really understand. And one of them is slope-intercept form. So we have to rearrange this to solve for just y. Get y by itself on the left, and then of course the number in front of the x, okay, here, that's your slope. So if you guys and gals want to do that one and let us know what it is, we can certainly do that. I can do it here too if you want. If you're just joining live stream right now, welcome. And we're just doing some formulas and some problems and some concepts that are covered on the ACT math section. And I know the ACT is coming up for a lot of students this weekend on Saturday. And I'm also encouraging everyone to purchase my huge ACT Math Review video course. And that's available for sale on my website at marsmathtutoring.com. It's also for sale through the link in my About page on my YouTube channel. That's Mars Math Tutoring. And it's also available, there should be a link in the description of this live stream. Can somebody check and let me know, is that link available and active in the description of this live stream? It should say, there should be a link there. Maybe somebody can click it and see if it takes you to the course. There's some free previews there, so there's even if you don't purchase it, if you don't feel that it's right for you, you can still get a sense of what it's like by watching those free previews. But here we're just solving some problems, so feel free to jump in on the chat if you have a question or something you want me to talk about or answer. The more specific, the better. But we're all just trying to kind of help each other out here on this live stream and see if you can. Okay, S. Shin says, is the answer negative 2/3? Okay, let's see. Carlos says, yes, it is. Miko says, yeah, it works. Oh, the link works, Miko? Okay, great. Okay, Jesse says, no, it doesn't work. Can you guys tell me if that link works in the description? See if that'll take you over to the video course. If not, go to the link in the About page on my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. Okay, but let's see if we can solve this. I know okay, Angie says, yeah, it does work. Okay, good. Thanks, Angie. Wooler says it works. Okay, thanks for checking. I appreciate it. Yeah, so go on over there maybe after this live stream and see if that's something you're interested in. Go ahead and get that review video course. I spent a lot of time putting it together, trying to figure out the most important questions to cover and go through a bunch of examples together and that kind of thing. A lot of students have said it's been really helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the y's on the left. So I'm going to add y to both sides. So that's going to be 3y. I'm going to subtract x over here. So that's going to give you negative 2x. Okay, like that. And we still have the positive 5. And then what I'm going to do is divide everything by 3. So if I do that, see the number here in front of the x? That's your slope. Once you get the y by itself, y equals mx plus b. So negative 2/3 is our slope. And so did that answer your question? I think Jesse was asking that one. Did that help, Jesse? What do you think? Did that answer your question, Jesse? Yeah. Okay. All right. So what do you think? Do you have other questions, other things you guys and gals want to talk about? Other ACT math questions? Let's see. Okay, so any other questions that you guys want to talk about or discuss? So what do you think? If you're enjoying this live stream, maybe consider giving me a like or a thumbs up. If you're not liking it, give me a thumbs down. Whatever you think, just give me your honest opinion about this live stream. If you haven't, okay, Christopher's asking about the percentage probability formula. Okay, that's a good question, Christopher. Let's see, Marquila says if a, b, and c are positive integers such that a to the b power equals x and c to the b power equals y, then what is x times y equals? Okay, Soccerhead says let's go over some more. Yeah, so if you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. And then if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up so I'll know that you guys enjoy this and we can do more of these. And Jesse's asking me, how did I make myself so good at math? Oh, that's a good question. Well, I enjoy math. It makes sense to me. I do a lot of practice, and I work with like a lot of students on a daily basis. Most of them in person, but I do work with some students online as well. So it's just a lot of practice, But I mainly like seeing students, improve and kind of reduce some of their stress levels and boost their confidence and just raise their scores overall. So that's kind of what gives me the most satisfaction, is just helping students. But it's just a lot of practice. As you do it more, once you learn something, it's easy, but before you learn it, of course, it's difficult, right? But let me see if I can go back in that chat. So there were some questions here. So Christopher was asking about the probability formula. Yeah, Christopher, that's a good question. The main thing with probability, I think I wrote it down here earlier, is probability. Remember, it's the number of successes, right? So it's what you want, okay? over the total possible outcomes, the total things that can happen. So number of successes over total possible. That's your probability formula. And you can leave it as a fraction, you can change it to a decimal, and sometimes they'll even ask you what's the percent chance, and you can convert it into a percentage. So let's see, other questions. I think, let's see, Markila, if I'm saying that correctly, asked a pretty tough one. I'm not sure if I know this one, but let me see if I can get another sheet of paper here. So let's see. So Markila is saying if A, let's see, hope you're not trying to stump me here, Markila. Looks like a tricky one. So this is, and also c to the b power equals, let's see, let's see. Oh, and Christopher's also asking about the Greek symbol for sum in the front. Okay, we can talk about that too, the summation formulas. That's a good question. I'm trying to look quickly at Markila's formula, and then she's asking what's x times y equals what, right? Question mark. Okay, so let's see. So if a, b, and c are positive integers, okay, I missed that part, and then a to the b equals x and c to the b equals y, then what does x times y equal? Oh, okay, so there we go, so x times y. So x times y would be a to the b times c to the b, but here's the thing, since they're both raised to the b power, Markila, this is going to be a times c all to the b. So did they answer your question? So this is really testing you on the rules of exponents. See, that's the thing, you know, with the ACT, they try to hit on a lot of different topics, and so rules of exponents is another important concept, something that I cover in the review course that I was talking about earlier. So yeah, definitely check that out. We definitely talk about the rules of exponents. Okay, Christopher was asking about, let's see, the Greek symbol with, okay, so he's talking about the summation formulas. Okay, so let's look at those summation formulas. So summation is like this, right? Okay, and so basically this is the Greek letter sigma. And say, for example, you have I equals 1 to 5, right? And let's say this is 2i squared minus 2. Okay, I'm just making something up here. Basically what this is called the index. And what you do is you put 1 in, you simplify this, and that's the value of your first term. Then you put 2 in, you simplify this, that's the value of your second term, 3, 4, and you work your way up to this top number 5, and then you add all those together, and that's your sum. Now, as this number gets larger and larger, there's formulas to make this summation, you know, finding the sum a little bit easier, whether it's an arithmetic sum or whether it's geometric, you know, in nature, like we were multiplying. And there's some other formulas as well, but there's only a few terms, like in this example, I probably would just put them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and simplify each of those and then add them all together, and that's your answer. But summation, I have more formulas, not more formulas, more videos on my Mario's Math Tutoring YouTube channel talking all about summation notation, geometric series, arithmetic series. So if you want to learn more about that, I would send you over there. There's a lot of good videos. Let's see, what other questions do you have? Let's see, I hope I'm answering these for you. Let's see. Sales for a business worth $3 million. Let's see, so Markila, I hope I answered your question for that last one. Let's see, Jason's asking sales for a business worth $3 million more than the second year than the first, and sales for the third year were double the sales for the second year. Okay, if sales for the third year were $38 million, what were sales in millions of dollars for the first year? Okay, and then, so good. Okay, so that's a good question. You know, that's a really good question. You know, what I would do with a question like this one, Jason, is I would probably diagram it out first of all. So basically what it is, let's see, you've got sales for a business worth $3 million more the second year than the first. So say this is X, right? Then that means this is X plus 3 million, right? And then what? The sales for the third year, okay, that's this one over here, were double the sales for the second year. So then this one over here is going to be double, right? So it's going to be double this, so 2 times X plus 3, right? So if sales for the third year were $38 million, what were sales in millions of dollars for the first year? Okay, so we're ultimately trying to figure out the first year, but they tell us that this third year is equal to 38. So all you have to do is solve this equation, Jason, just divide both sides by 2. That's going to be 19. Subtract 3, that's going to be 16. So then if you put that back in here to this over here, and then my diagram, basically, you can see the first year they're going to be 16 million. So sometimes it helps to diagram them out, and that, you know, that's a good technique as well. They give you room on the ACT over to the right of the question, so I would draw a diagram, then I try to write an equation, and solve it. But it's a time test, so sometimes you're better off just taking the answers and back substituting and checking to see which ones work. A lot of times people that watch my videos, like other math people, math tutors, not students, they criticize. They say, well, why are you showing them the long way? Well, I like to show all the different ways and then let students kind of decide which is going to be the best for them. But sometimes just back substitution is the quickest, so you might want to consider that. So let's see, Angie. Let's see, Angie's saying, would you use identities like n times n plus 1 over 2? Okay, that's a good question. And Soccerhead says, I'm going to watch your other videos. Yeah, there's a lot of great videos on my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. Elite Gamer says hi. Okay, welcome to the live stream. So if you guys are just joining us, consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you're liking this live stream. And consider checking out that huge ACT Math Review video course I have for sale through the link in the description of this live stream. It goes through 65 concepts. It's 3.5 hours of video. It's got tons of information there. A lot of students have benefited and boosted their score on the ACT Math section. And if you're interested in online one-on-one tutoring, and you like my style, my teaching style, and you want to work with me, whether it be for one session or more than one session, or we can talk about that. You can reach out and contact me, and we can certainly do that if you're interested in that. And yeah, so basically, that's basically it. So let's see if Angie, just try and answer your question here. You're just asking about n times n plus 1 over 2. You know what this formula is, Angie? It's basically like if you're adding up consecutive integers like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus dot 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 n, like that, right? So if you were adding up all the integers from 1 to 100, say for example, what you would do is you'd say, well, the first term is 1. Okay, so that's your 1 right here. Okay, your last term is 100, right? There's 100 terms and divided by 2. So that's the idea. So this is finding out the sum of consecutive integers. Yeah, so the formula again is this is the first term, and this is the last term, and this is the number of terms divided by 2. Okay, let's see. Miko has a question. At a picnic, one junior and one senior are selected. If there are 125 juniors and 100 seniors, what is the possibility to have a combination of 1 to 1? Let me see. I'm not sure if I understand the question exactly. Different combinations. Oh, how many different combinations are there? Okay, okay, Miko, you are touching on a very important concept, and this is called the multiplication counting principle, or it's also called the fundamental counting principle. And this is important. This is important for the ACT Math section. You want to know how to work with the fundamental counting principle. And so to answer your question, let me see if I can bring it back up again. So there was 125 juniors and there's 100 seniors. And so if you pick one junior and one senior, you have 125 choices for who you pick to be the junior and 100 choices to pick for who's going to be the senior. You multiply those together, that's how many ways you could pick one junior and one senior. And so that's going to come out to what? 12,500, right? So that's how many there is. So that's called the multiplication counting principle. So if you're just joining us right now, we're kind of getting near the end of this live stream. I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you can find out notifications when I release new videos or when I go live with these live streams. Let's see, Danielle's asking a question. And then let's see, also I want to see if you guys would be interested in liking the video. If you're enjoying this, Marquila's asking about shading for inequalities. Okay, that's a good question, Marquila. And let's see, what else do I want to encourage you guys to do? I really want to encourage you guys to check out my huge ACT Math Review video course that's for sale, and you can go through the link in the description in this video or through my About page. I have a link there too on my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. Let's see, so definitely get that huge, let's see if I got the right name, huge ACT Math Review. Miko's saying thanks, oh you're welcome. Huge ACT Math Review video course. Okay, and this is with me. Okay, Marquila says your 21 concept video is really helpful as well. Okay, thanks Marquila, I appreciate that. That 21 concept video course is really just like an introduction to this course. That would just kind of went through 21 concepts. This one goes through 65 concepts. It's over 3.5 hours of video, okay, and has lots of examples We go through a teaching section, we go through some sample problems for each of the different topics. You have an opportunity to practice, and we go through them together. It's just loaded with information. A lot of students have contacted me and said, you know, what a difference it made in their scores on that test. So I encourage you to get this course if you're at all interested. This is with Mario's Math Tutoring. That's me, Mario's Math Tutoring. You can get the links through the description or on the About page on my YouTube channel. And let's see, what else do I want to encourage you to do? If you don't want to do that, that's okay. That's completely fine. I do have more videos just talking about, let's see, some previously released ACT tests. You can check those out on my YouTube channel. You can kind of see how I work through some of the different problems there on the whiteboard. Oh, and I also wanted to say, if you're interested in online tutoring, you can contact me through my website, mariosmathtutoring.com. And or if you want to do like a FaceTime, or we can use the online whiteboard that I generally use, so we can see each other in live time, and we can share the whiteboard and write there together and work through some problems. Or if you have some specific questions or concepts that you don't understand, we can talk about those. So feel free to reach out to me about that. I'll take just one last maybe look here about the live stream here, the chat. Let's see if there's anything else that we want to talk about here. I know there were some other questions. Danielle had a question about how many rubber bands will she need in order to stretch a different rubber band across every possible pair of nails. Oh, that's if Min cuts a board in the shape of a regular hexagon and pounds in a nail at equal distances from each vertex. Ooh, I kind of like that problem. It's an interesting, it's like a geometry, because you know on the ACT, so you know on the ACT, what do? They ask you questions about algebra, geometry, algebra 2, trigonometry, not really much in the way of pre-calculus. So it's basically, you know, pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, like that. So, but let's see if we can do this one for Daniela. So it's basically, we've got a hexagon, right? So hexagon like this, right? Okay, so you basically, here's the vertices. Those are the corners of the hexagon, right? 6 sides. And so you're trying to stretch these rubber bands, you know, like this, and you're wondering, you know, how many different rubber bands, you know, can you? So I guess I'm drawing them right now. I guess you could count all these, but that might take a little while, right? You know, you just keep going from one to the next like that, and you'll count them all up. But let's see, is there an easier way to do it? Well, that's a good question. So basically, it's really like this. It's 6, choose 2. So it's saying out of these 6 vertices, how many ways are there to choose 2 where the order doesn't matter? So if I'm pairing up this one with this one, or this one with this one, that's the same rubber band that's connecting those 2 nails, okay? And so if you know this whole live stream was basically dedicated, I guess in my viewpoint, to formulas. We were kind of talking about what kind of formulas do you need to know for the ACT, and the combination formula is this one right here. It's n factorial over n minus r factorial, r factorial. So if you want to go over combinations, you can check out more videos on my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. But in this case, you can see n is 6 and r is 2. So this would be 6 factorial over 6 minus 2 factorial, 2 factorial. And so let's see, so if we simplify that down, that's 6 factorial over 4 factorial, 2 factorial. And remember the way these factorials work, you start at this number and you multiply down until you get to 1, right? Same thing here, 4, 3, 2, 1, and same thing with the 2 factorial, 2 times 1. So look, we've got a lot of cancellation that's occurring here. I'm just crossing these guys out. 2 times 1 is 2, and let's see, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So it looks like there should be 15. So Daniela says, where did you get the 2 from? Okay, yeah, this was your question, wasn't it, Daniela? Well, where I got the 2 from is that you're pairing up. Okay, Backless Chaps is saying, which type of problems show up the most on the ACT Math section? Oh, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, you know, what are some important formulas, and we're talking about some different questions that you could see on the, you know, on the ACT Math section. But yeah, basically you're pairing up 2 at a time. So out of 6 vertices, how many ways are there to choose 2 where the order doesn't matter? So that's a combination as opposed to a permutation where the order does matter. So did that answer your question, Daniela? If you're just joining the live stream right now, subscribe to the channel, you know, so you can be alerted of more math videos that I release, or if I go live with some more live streams like this, so you can be notified. like the video. Is it always 2, Danielle? Well, it depends. Like, it depends on the type of problem for R. Like in this case, if you're just choosing 2 vertices to connect with that rubber band, that's 2. If you're trying to make triangles, then you'd be choosing 3 vertices to make a triangle. So it kind of depends on how many. This is the total, and this is how many you're choosing out of that total. So so basically, I'm basically just trying to help students out a little bit here today. We've been kind of going a little bit long. Usually I try to keep the live streams to about an hour, but we can go a little bit longer if you're interested. But let me know. Elite Gamer says hi. Okay, thanks for joining. So if you're just joining us here now, we're just talking about ACT math. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Like this video if you're enjoying this live stream. And again, let me just remind you that I'm available for online math tutoring if you're interested in that, for the ACT or the SAT or just for a math class. And then let's see, I also wanted to tell you about the huge ACT math review video course. That's the one I was talking about a little bit earlier. So check that out in the link in the description to this video. It goes through 65 concepts, 3.5 hours of video. And of course, you can pick out the important parts that you want to go over and skip some of the others. But each one of those lessons is just loaded with great information, example problems. So each one of those concepts potentially can raise your score by 1 point. So if you haven't scored as well as you wanted to, this might be something that could help you boost your score. So definitely check that out either on my website or let's see. Joseph's asking a question. Any advice for dividing the time allotted for the math section so as to be the most successful? Joseph Perez, that's a good question. This is my take on that. You've got 60 minutes, right? 60 minutes, and you've got 60 questions. So if you're a mathematician, you would say, well, that means that's 1 minute per question, right? But generally the questions at the very beginning of the test are simpler. So it should only take you maybe like 20 seconds or 15 seconds to do some of the ones in the very beginning. And so if you can get through those a little bit quicker, it'll save some time for you at the end of the test to work on some of those tougher problems. They tend to get a little bit more difficult as you get past number 30 or so, I would say. They tend to get progressively more difficult. So the first ones you don't want to overthink. The ones at the very end you don't want to underthink and take for granted. So you want to make sure you're checking your answers. But basically, if I can answer your question, in my opinion, I would try to go a little bit quicker at the beginning. But then again, you don't make simple mistakes because each question is worth the same 1 point, right? So it's basically weighted the same. No penalty for guessing. If you don't know, you can always take a guess. But as far as the timing and the pacing, I would take some practice tests. Maybe take a look at the Backless Champs is saying, if I'm stumped on one question, should I skip or guess? Well, I would guess. You can maybe put a little mark in your booklet so you can go back to that one if you have time, and you can work it out a little bit further. But yeah, there's no penalty for guessing, and you might as well. You might get a few extra points by doing that. So, any other questions? I know we're cutting it long on this live stream. What do you think? Has this been helpful? Has everyone gotten some good benefit from this? I sure hope so. I had a little bit of time, so I thought I would jump here online and. Let's see, Elite Gamer says, hi, I live near your area and I was wondering if you could give me some math lessons as I'm struggling with the subject. Yeah, you can contact me if you want to talk about that. Just you can reach me through my website, mariosmathtutoring.com. Angie says it's been great. Okay, I'm glad you guys joined us, Angie, and Joseph, I'm glad you joined us. He's saying it was great. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up for today. And Christopher says, woo, hoo, hoo. Okay, so yeah, great. So yeah, I would... check out this ACT Math Review video course. Let me know what you think. Report back if you think of it after you take the ACT, and let me know how this particular live stream maybe helped you with the ACT. And if you take the video course, let me know how that helps you as well. So we're going to wrap it up for today. But again, go to my YouTube channel, Mario's Math Tutoring. A lot of other videos on there to help you prepare. And again, if you're interested in online tutoring, contact me. And if you're interested in this ACT course, check that out as well. Otherwise, we're just going to call it a day. So enjoy the rest of your day and good luck on the test on Saturday, okay? All right, we'll see you. Bye.